This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello, and welcome back to the British English Podcast. I'm Charlie, and today we're talking about travel. Yeah, travel, a popular topic in the IELTS speaking exam. But instead of focusing on part 1 or part 2, today's episode is all about part 3, where you'll need to express opinions, discuss broader ideas, and analyze different aspects of a topic. And if you're preparing for IELTS or just wanting to expand your ability to talk about travel in English, this is going to be a great episode for you. So let's get started, shall we?
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
All right. In the IELTS speaking part 3, the examiner asks you follow-up questions related to the topic from part 2, but with a focus on analysis, comparison, and speculation. Your answers should be well developed and supported by examples or reasoning. So let's look at some common part 3 travel-related questions, and I'll provide you with some model answers for each one. So the first question might be, how has travel changed over the past few decades? That is, how has travel changed over the past few decades? And a good response might be something like this. Well, I think travel has changed drastically in the past few decades, mainly due to advances in technology and lower costs. In the past, international travel was seen as a luxury, and only a small percentage of people could afford to go abroad. Flights were expensive, and information about destinations was limited to guidebooks. However, nowadays, budget airlines, online booking platforms, and travel blogs have made it far easier for people to explore different parts of the world. Additionally, the rise of remote work has allowed more people to travel for extended periods. That said, mass tourism has also led to issues like over-tourism and environmental damage, which is definitely something to consider. Okay, so I think that was a good response and would be given a good mark. Probably, could be a 9, could be a 9. Definitely an 8, definitely an 8 in my opinion. So why is that? Well, it was well structured and the answer moves from past to present, showing clear organization. It showed varied vocabulary, phrases like budget airlines, mass tourism, and over tourism as well. And then the grammar as well, like the use of present perfect. For example, travel has changed drastically, and conditional structures, which, both of those improve the grammatical complexity of the answer. But let's go on to question 2 now, which was, what are the advantages and disadvantages of international tourism? I'll say that again. What are the advantages and disadvantages of international tourism? And I might look them in the eye and say, there are definitely positives and negatives when it comes to international tourism. On the one hand, tourism boosts local economies, creates jobs, and fosters cultural exchange. Many countries, particularly those that rely heavily on tourism, benefit greatly from visitors spending money on accommodation, food, and activities. On the other hand, tourism can also have negative consequences. Over-tourism can strain local infrastructure. It could increase pollution and sometimes lead to the exploitation of local cultures. For instance, cities like Venice or Barcelona have struggled with excessive crowds, making daily life more difficult for residents. So while tourism is important, sustainable travel practices are crucial to minimizing its negative impact. Okay, so that was the second answer to the second question. So why was it good? Well, it had a balanced discussion. The response presented both advantages and disadvantages, showing critical thinking. It gave real-world examples, mentioning Venice and Barcelona, which adds authenticity and depth. And then I'd say the usage of phrases like on the one hand and on the other hand help in regards to cohesiveness, because it just glues the pros and cons together to make a very clear argument. And the examiner likes to see cohesiveness. So yeah, it's good. It's good. All right. The third question is, do you think people will travel more or less in the future? I'll repeat that again, of course. Do you think people will travel more or less in the future? Again, I'd be sitting across the table and looking deep into the examiner's eyes and say, that's an interesting question. That is an interesting question. Don't repeat that. Don't say it twice. Just say it once. That's an interesting question. You could try and say it a bit slower and more dramatically if you wanted a bit of time to think. But that's an interesting question. I think it really depends on different factors. In the short term, global events like economic downturns or pandemics can reduce travel. However, in the long term, I believe people will continue to travel more and more due to globalization and the increasing ease of transportation. But that being said, climate change might force us to rethink how we travel, as people are becoming more aware of their carbon footprint. So we might see a shift towards eco-friendly travel options, such as train travel instead of short-haul flights. Governments may also introduce stricter regulations on tourism to protect the environment. So While I think travel will remain popular, the way we travel might change significantly. Okay. Again, why? Why was that good? Well, or why did I think that was good? Let's say it like that. So I used some phrases that we would class as like hedging language. This is like, it really depends, and we might see. These phrases help you demonstrate the ability to discuss uncertainty. So instead of saying, oh, don't know, you're using sort of academic or intellectual language to show that there's uncertainty in the answer. There's no certainty. We don't know, but here's a way that we can describe our options of what the possibilities are going to look like. I would say it was also a strong answer because of the way that there was future speculation. The response effectively speculates on future travel habits, which, is directly answering the question, do you think people will travel more or less in the future? So I'm answering the question, basically. And then there were smooth transitions between different ideas, making it easy to follow, and that scores highly in coherence for the examiner. So there we go. Those 3 questions and answers. Let's go over some tips, though, that will help you in part 3 of the IELTS speaking exam.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all, take Xyzal. At night.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
My first tip would be to expand your answers. Avoid giving short responses. So instead, explain your reasoning and provide examples to support your points. You know how I brought up Venice and Barcelona? That's providing an example to support my point. The next tip I would say is to use a variety of tenses. It's easier said than done, or it's easier thought than said. Can I say that? Notice how I used past, present, and future tenses in my answers. So showing a good range of grammar structures will boost your score. Another tip might be to express opinions really, really clearly and use phrases to support this, or just show how you're clearly showing your opinions. So like, in my opinion, or I strongly believe that blah, blah, blah. Or the other one that I mentioned, on the one hand, and then on the other hand. So using these phrases to express your opinions clearly. All right, another tip I could say is to compare and contrast. So examiners love when you discuss different perspectives. So use comparative structures like, compared to the past, travel is much more accessible today. And then another one was, while some people prefer adventure travel. And then another one could be, while some people like this, others like that. So while some people prefer adventure travel, others enjoy relaxing beach holidays. So while some people like this, others like that. So compare and contrast. All right, my final tip before I get on to the challenge for you today is to speculate about the future, because questions often require predictions. So use phrases like, I imagine that in the future, blah, blah, blah. Or it's likely that we will see, blah, blah, blah. It's likely that we will see an increase in travel over the years. Or I imagine that in the future, we will be restricted by our governments as to how we travel. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I don't know. Is that good? Is that bad? Let me know. Let me know. All right, let's go on to the challenge. So it's time for you to practice. Try answering one of the questions I discussed today. Take your time to expand on your ideas and use some of the phrases we covered. So the questions were, how has travel changed over the years? What are the benefits and drawbacks of tourism? And do you think people will travel more or less in the future? I changed the wording a little bit just to give you a little bit of extra language to see how the questions could change slightly. If you want the original, I'll say them now. How has travel changed over the past few decades? The second one was, what are the advantages and disadvantages of international tourism? And then the third one was, do you think people will travel more or less in the future? Okay, so maybe pause this episode here, record yourself answering one of these questions on your phone using voice memos or whatever app you like to record yourself. And if you can, play it back and listen to your response and try to compare it to my response. And then also, if you can, put on your examiner hat and try to mark your answer. Think about what was good and some areas that you might need to develop a little further. All right, that's all for today's episode. I hope you found the model answers and tips helpful. IELTS speaking part 3 can be challenging, but with practice, you'll gain confidence and improve your fluency. Before you go, though, I have a free ebook to help you improve your IELTS speaking score. It includes a transcript and an audiobook version, so you can read and listen at the same time. I would encourage you to download it now to learn how to use idiomatic expressions naturally in the IELTS speaking exam to increase your score. So check out the show notes or visit thebritishenglishpodcast.com/freebies. That's FREEBIES. And you'll be able to see all of my free stuff. There's quite a lot there now. But the one that you're looking for is how to use idioms in IELTS. Okay, thanks for listening. I've been your host, Charlie, and I'll see you in the next episode of the British English Podcast. Bye for now.